That's right. We're back. Of course, I went to an Indy City Council meeting on Monday. It was pretty boring. Apparently, it was just over an hour long, but it felt like I was there for hours. I'm not exactly sure why. I've been to enough council meetings and they never feel like they're that long, but this one I was just miserable the whole time. I'll do the video on it tomorrow. Not so much of what happened at the council meeting, but what I saw on the background stuff. It was very funny. Larry Vaughn was there. He's always a hoot. Um, but today we got the Parks and Recreation meeting, and I'm not sure if you notice that someone's missing. That goes right here. That's right, folks. It's Naptown Jesse Brown. It's Clown Brown. He's not there today, which is interesting because he always talks about how this is going to be his full time job now, but he can't even make it there for his full time job. Him and Andy Nielsen quit their full time jobs so they can do this $50,000 a year part time job. That's right, folks. Jesse Brown is making 170 grand a year, and he decided to quit that gig so he can go with this one. And he can't even make it to one out of the three committees that he's part of, which is hilarious. And speaking of that clown, I saw today that he had a meetup with business owners on Mass Ave, and they were very concerned with him that if they didn't agree with what he said, and if it got back, then he was going to send their attack dogs on them to try and destroy their business. Because if you remember right, there were businesses on Washington that did not want to have the dedicated bus lane in Irvington. And as soon as he found out about it, him, William Hazen from Indigo Bus, there's a guy in there, Nick Has Thoughts. I'm not going to tell you his real name. Cliff Mazziano, he was doing it, and all the East Side Socialists started attacking Giacomo and some wellness center that was off of Mass Ave too. And then they beat him up so much that they end up having to bend the knee and say no. He's like, no, no, no. Actually, we're part of. We want the bus lane. Just don't ruin my business. Don't ruin my small time business. And the the business owners on Mass Ave wanted to talk to him about that because right now they're out joyriding because it's nice out. They have some bike thing going on today, and he put it on Blue Sky because apparently he's off Twitter for now. He'll be back. Listen, I know, I know you always come back to the bird. Okay? Very interesting. I put the screenshots on there of what happened. So don't expect him on Twitter. You expect him on Facebook and Blue Sky and something called Hoosier Social. I don't know what it is. But Parks and Rec, first committee meeting of the year. They canceled the one in January. Jared Evans is the new chair of the Parks and Rec committee. So let's watch this cluster.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first Indianapolis City County Council Parks and Recreation Committee for 2024. I'd like to begin tonight's meeting with introductions from my colleagues, and we'll start on the first level.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike Dilk, District 24.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Lene, District 22.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Josh Bain, District 21 on the far southwest side.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am Brianne Delaney, representing District 2 on the north side.
Good evening, Chairman Evans. Councilor Krista Carlino, representing the 11th District on the far west side.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jessica McCormick, West Side, District 16.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dan Boots, District 3, Washington, Lawrence Townships.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Frank Mascari, District 19.
Thank you. And I'm Chairman Jared Evans, representing District 17 on the far west side.
Oh, by the way, if you really want an extra nitpick, I might just bring this up every single time. Every Parks and Rec committee meeting, I'm just going to bring this up. This guy, Jared Evans, he has no job. Okay, I want to make sure that's perfectly clear. There are multiple members of this council that do not have a full-time job or a job at all, and Jared Evans is one of them.
Wayne Township. With consensus from the committee, I would like to move proposal number 11 to first to allow the reappointment of Larry Bates to the Board of Parks and Recreation to be heard first.
Consent.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Bates, you may come up. If you'd like to speak to us a little bit about your reappointment and some of the things that you've been doing while serving on the board.
Okay, well, on this reappointment, I'm really looking forward to it. Been working with a great committee, and we're able to get things done, and I take the fiduciary responsibility seriously, so I really I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions from my colleagues? Are there any questions from anyone in the room, from the public? Thank you. Colleagues, I'll entertain a motion on the proposal.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of moving proposal number 11, which reappoints Larry Bates to the Board of Parks and Recreation to the full council with a due pass recommendation, say aye. Aye. Thank you. Thank you, sir, and thank you for your service to the board.
Thank you.
Moving right along on proposal number 2, which approves the mayor's appointment of Ms. Phyllis Boyd, the Director of the Department of Parks and Recreation. Ms. Boyd, the floor is yours.
Hey, microphone.
There we go. Thank you. Good evening, Chairman Evans and committee members. Tonight, I would like to provide you with a brief overview of Indy Parks' work in 2023, a general overview of our budget for 2024, and a look ahead for this year. First, here's just a quick reminder of our mission, vision, and racial equity statement that helps inform our work. Our mission is to provide and
Racial equity. What does a swing set have to do with racial equity? All right, whatever, moving on.
enriching experiences for all, and that is to help us realize a city where our residents have healthier lives, inspiring experiences, and vibrant communities. This graphic helps you see just the depth and breadth of the Indy Park system. We have...
Hold on. Let's count this up. 782 employees, 4 dog parks, 216 parks, 18 million served annually. I don't even know how you count those. That include the hobos and the crackheads that are doing drugs. And a swing set, 2,400 annual programs, 20 aquatic, 155 sport. This is interesting. 153 miles of trails. I wonder how much money they've spent on that. I don't know. But 22 splash pads. How much water are we wasting off of that?
216 parks
Food
now,
for thought.
and more than 11,000 acres. In 2023, we opened 16 pools, which was double the amount we were able to open in 2022 during the pandemic. Our team's already hard at work on hiring for the summer, including trying to get all those lifeguards that we need to open our pools. We were able to bring back our swim team and swim lessons last year to 9 pools. Another key role Indy Parks plays in our city is providing free meals for our youth and communities. Last year, we provided over 162,000 meals, with more than 3 million total since 2013.
They're not free.
The summer servings program is really one big piece of this, and that allows us to provide meals to students when they are out of school during the summer months. Last year was also our first year at full capacity at our day camp since 2019. Through working with our partners and the opening of family centers at Krannert and Frederick Douglass before this coming summer, we'll be able to offer even more camp spots this year. Registration for those programs is actually open now, and we're offering scholarships for all of our camps, and you can find program information at indyparks.org. Last year, we were thrilled to announce the $80 million Lilly Endowment Grant that will make improvements at 42 parks in all 9 townships.
By the way, that endowment is like $1.8 billion, I think. It's something crazy.
We're continuing to hold public meetings for many projects, and many of which will begin construction in 2024, and all will be begun by early 2025. Another piece to the historic investment in parks is the Circle City Forward initiative. Last month, we opened up the renovated Krannert Park Family Center with Mayor Hodgson and Chairman Evans on the west side, and the improvements there include the new indoor pool that you can see on the screen. The digital rendering that you see on the upper right is of the Frederick Douglass Family Center, And I just walked through there yesterday to take a look at the construction site and get an update on the work, and it's coming along really beautifully and will be opening up later this spring.
Whoopee.
The third image you see up there is of the nature playground at Grassy Creek Park on the east side. And this new environmentally focused community center over there will be completed this fall and will provide more of our residents with opportunities to engage with nature and environmental programs.
Just go outside. Just go outside. We need an opportunity to hang out with nature. We need to have fresh air. Go outside. Just go play in the grass.
Last fall, we opened the Riverside Promenade Trail and then broke ground on the Riverside Adventure Park in November. These two projects are part of a larger investment that's being made in one of our city's largest parks, Riverside Regional Park. And work on the Adventure Park is scheduled for completion around the end of 2024 and will include a nature-themed playground and trails. Another exciting project that we completed in 2023 is a Reverend Charles R. Williams Park on the near north side. With a connecting path to the Monon, this new park is a great community resource and honors the legacy of Reverend Williams. And if you haven't had a chance to look at this beautiful little park,
I think this might be
please stop by and see
state-run.
it. Another major piece of the historic investment in our parks is the $17 million going towards playground upgrades around the city. 2 of these projects were completed in 2023, and many more are currently underway. One of the many great things about these new playgrounds is that they're all
17.3?
rubberized surfacing, which means that there's no mulch that will need to be replaced and weeded. And you'll see that these new playgrounds start to wrap up this spring and summer once the weather warms up.
What? $17.3 million. That's crazy. This Broad Ripple one is funny. I did a video on this about how
Back in January of
how bad the MEC board got hosed on it, especially for how expensive this thing was.
2023, we opened up the new Broad Ripple Family Center. We've seen a lot of new programs offered there, committee members taking advantage of the great meeting and events rooms, and consistent usage of the walking track and gym. The windows that you see in the upper right across the whole facade of the building really let you have these amazing views of the river.
Maybe it's just me, but hold on, I gotta go back to this thing. Imagine taking your car to a family center, right? You get out, and you're just thinking you got your water bottle with you, and you go up the stairs. This looks like it's upstairs, and you're just there to walk. And how long are you there? Half an hour, maybe, and then you hop back in your car. You're feeling real good about yourself. When you could have literally just done it outside.
Facade of the building really let you have these amazing views of the river.
I'm not trying to trash parks or anything, but good God, like the amount of money that we spend on this crap is just bananas. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Our community partnerships are really vital to the maintenance and improvements of our parks. You can see a sample of the great work our partners did last year on the screen. Last month, Citizens Energy Group completed their annual Sharing the Dream event at Stanley Strader Park, providing more than $300,000 in improvements to the Family Center, along with other local partners. On this slide, you can see a breakdown of our budget from 2021 to the current 2024 budget. The top half shows our funding by source.
Whoa.
Fund accounts for most of that funding. And you'll also see the $74 million from last year, which represents the Lilly Endowment Grant.
Oh, that's why. Okay. Jeez, man, that is some major money laundering. Holy jeez. That's crazy, man. Yeah, that's the Lilly Endowment, right? Capital Asset Life. Okay. What the hell did you guys spend money on? $80 million? Are you kidding me right now? That's crazy, man.
On the bottom half, you'll see how our expenditures are broken out in the 2024 budget compared to previous years. Going from top to bottom, it's character 1 through 5. And the uptick for personnel services over the last few years comes from the city's compensation study that led to higher pay for our really wonderful park staff.
Okay.
And finally, I want to briefly look ahead to some of our plans for 2024. First, you'll see the completion of our Circle City Forward projects with the Cranert Park Family Center already opening up last month, and then the remaining 3 projects scheduled for completion later this year. And second, you'll see the completion of the new playgrounds across the city. Combined with the Lilly Endowment projects, more than 1 in 4 of our 216 parks will have a new playground by 2026. That means better places for our youth to play, whether it's a neighborhood park or a large park like Cranert, Brookside, or Southwest Way.
Dude, man, maybe I'm just old. Maybe I'm just like getting boomerish or something. But back in my day, we didn't need all of this. We were pretty basic, I think. We had like the little bulldozer thing where you're digging up dirt. You had the little bouncy thing, the seesaw, the monkey bars. I'm not even sure if you're allowed to say that anymore. And then a swing set, the little slide too, the metal one that you'd burn yourself on all the time. Or maybe you get gripped up and then you're just doing a somersault all the way down and nearly breaking your neck. All of this, though, man, this just seems like a giant scam.
And as I mentioned earlier, we'll also have a higher summer camp capacity this year. And thanks to federal grants, more arts and environmental education programs will be available in parks.
Thank you,
that have not been
taxpayers.
able to offer this programming in the past. And both of these expansions will allow us to provide more opportunities for communities and youth across the city. Thank you.
Lovely.
Thank you, Director. I really appreciate that. With regard
Oh,
to
look who showed up to the
playground
party.
equipment, the updates there, specifically removing the mulch and things of that nature, are these things being done in a way to help prevent us from expenses in the future, saving us dollars?
Absolutely. The mulch of the playgrounds is an expense that we have to renew that every year. Triaxle loads, thousands of cubic yards of mulch are used across the system. So if we don't have to do that, that's a huge savings. And then in terms of maintenance, when you have the mulch playgrounds, you've got to go back with herbicides and make sure the weeds are down or you're hand pulling, and it's a really huge effort to really take control of those.
Yeah. Councilor Brown, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good evening. Yeah, Councilor Brown, very happy to be here and so sorry for my tardiness, but really appreciate your updates. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Questions from councilors? Councilor Frank Muscari.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is about the recycling bins. How many of those do we have around the city in the parks?
You think anybody's using those things? They're just like tossing them over.
That's a great question.
That is a great question.
That is a program run out of DPW.
Correct.
So, Don, do you have an idea?
I'm sure all the bums
Don
are like
Colvin, our Deputy Director of
taking poops in
Planning.
them too.
Good evening. As the director mentioned, it's a Department of Public Works initiative, but we do have those at Broad Ripple, Southwest Way, Somme. I think that's about, there may be one down at Perry. There's a few that we scattered, but again, there's not as many. We have one at Garfield.
Right.
At Garfield. They, unfortunately, the initiative is an important initiative to think about recycling and that. That's not how they actually function.
Oh,
They
who would've
function
guessed?
as designated dump sites.
Oh.
And DPW spends an enormous amount of time and effort cleaning up illegal, non-recyclable goods associated with these bins. So they've, in my professional opinion, they've been very problematic.
Oh.
They used to be at a lot of the local stores, Kroger's in particular, used to be Marsh, and many of those have asked them to be removed because of
Why?
the dumping situation that occurs.
Oh.
I wish people would respect the purpose of them, and then it would be a very good program, but presently they're not being respected.
No kidding. We've been saying that for a long time, that this stuff won't work. And it's because of scumbag people. They just don't care. And you see it a lot with illegals. I mean, they're going to bring their third world problems and make this into a third world. And it starts with recycling bins.
Absolutely, that was my point. How often is DPW dumping or picking these up? Once every other day in some cases, correct?
Yes, I give my hats off to DPW. They have a team that just goes around to every one of these sites and just cleans them up very aggressively.
Oh, gross.
But I'm thinking about the one where I live. It's at a Kroger's. I'm just totally embarrassed. I'll go there sometimes, and there's mattresses, there's TVs, there's lawnmowers, and that weekend, usually this happens on the weekend, DPW is there Monday morning cleaning that all up. So they do put a very strong effort forward to make it presentable and clean. They not only clean up immediately around it, they try to police the area around it as well. So again, it's very unfortunate, but the city does put a major effort in making it function as a recycle center and do that. But if it's contaminated, it literally does not go to the recycle center.
Thank you, Don.
What he said was, puts in a lot of effort, which means a lot of money.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councilor McCormick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple items. One, thank you for mentioning the contamination, Don. That's one of the biggest things that I know that we've had one that we lost on the west side recently. And it was not only was the dumping, but it was all contaminated, so it's all going to the dump anyways. And so those of us that are doing our due diligence to protect our community and our environment, it just goes for naught. So thank you, and yes, DPW is great. Thank you, Director. I look forward to supporting you and continuing the exciting work that you and your staff and the team at Indy Parks are doing. I have to say an extra thank you for adding more for the summer camps. I know that was a concern. Like last year, you and I had a conversation about the wait list that there was, and so I know that adding this is going to be have a huge impact on our families and our communities that actually have childcare now, right, in the summer and don't have to worry about that. And then if anybody is out listening, apply for a lifeguard, do it. It is the best high school job that you can have, hands down. That's where I started, so.
And we have hiring bonuses again this year, so.
Yeah, hiring bonuses, yay. And if I can, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor for this.
For what?
Reappointment.
Absolutely. And colleagues, just so you know, as the chairman of this, I'm going to do things differently. You do not need to ask me for permission to continue to speak. You have the floor. It is yours. Some of our guests may not like that as much, but I'm not going to interrupt you unless you just go off the beaten path. So you're good to
I think
to
they're
go.
talking about Mallory.
Any further questions from any of my colleagues? Councilor Delaney?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As a new counselor on this committee, I have a couple, they're probably general and things that you may have covered last year.
Look at this
but,
guy.
I think they're
Going to
important.
town right now on the head bob.
One is the Parks General Fund. What is that source of revenue that goes into that, or where does that money come from?
Taxes.
It's taxes.
Okay, and that's separate then from, I guess I saw the county general fund, but how is that separate, like as a separate fund?
That's, Angie, do you have, Angie Clark is our Chief Financial Officer.
Probably for like programs and reservations
The
of
Parks
stuff.
General Fund is approximately 82% tax funded. The remainder is fees and charges.
Oh,
Okay.
There you go.
The County General Fund, I would need to go look in the budget book I don't have those percentages memorized. But Consolidated County, of which the Arts Council is funded out of, is primarily property tax. I just don't know the percentage.
Okay, thank you. I know that there's different sources of funding, and it can be kind of confusing for anybody watching, talking about a budget and where that money's actually coming from. So thank
Taxes,
you.
man. Where do you think it comes from?
My second question is on the pools. I know Councilor McCormick was talking about signing up to be a lifeguard. I too was a lifeguard in high school. I know you said that you opened more pools this summer. Were we able to open them all? And if not, how many left? Is it the lifeguard shortage is the major challenge? I know some of the pools had infrastructure issues, so I was hopeful that you could just briefly address that and where we're headed this summer.
The ability to open pools depends on safely staffing them and also making sure there aren't mechanical issues. We have 19 pools in the system. Over the summer, we have 18 because the one pool that we don't have in the summer is the pool at George Washington High School. So our hope always is to open all of them. That is the goal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Boots?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Director
Dan with the boots.
Boyd. Just quick question on the pools. I have no pools now in my district, but had Som Park, and I'm still
Are you going swimming, Dan?
beholden to that. How is the, does it look like, I know you said you wish they're all going to open, but is there any mechanical issues that we're facing at Som Park that may prevent it from opening regardless of the staffing issues?
I'm not aware of any. Dawn, do you have? Yeah. So I think we will cross our fingers and hope for the best.
Good, good. And I also had a question, if Mr. Colvin might step back up just really quick on, I know there's been discussion in the past for these dumping issues. I too have one near me I use frequently. I don't see quite the mattresses and chairs and TVs that many places do, but it does fill up frequently. At one point, there was a discussion of putting these in areas that are under video surveillance.
What are you going to do with that? Really?
Excuse me, so that we can better monitor that. And also, if someone obviously pulls up, throws out a TV, we've got a license plate, we've got an illegal dumping charge.
You want to know why he doesn't see that problem? Because he lives on the north side of Indy. He lives like right off of 96th Street and 31, I think that's what it is. Yeah. And he doesn't really have any of these problems. So, and if he's really thinking about, this is also the guy that approved like millions and millions of dollars in security cameras on the trail. And this is just another thing of Big Brother. But let's be straight here, all right? Let's not kid ourselves. You would actually have to prosecute people if you're going to be being like, oh, we got their plate number. We're gonna find them and stuff. It's like you're not gonna be doing shit. Otherwise, you're gonna be crying. The people are gonna cry about it, and then you're just gonna put a stop to it.
Is there any progress made in that direction?
Again, we as the Parks Department is purchased, or in the process of purchasing, I don't know if we've received them yet, these portable cameras that we can do some monitoring, but the dumpsters are managed and run by the Department of Public Works.
Yeah,
The
we know
park
that.
sites are just chosen because it's easy accessibility. So we really don't have anything to do with that program. But we, as far as for some public safety around our recreational assets, we did buy some portable cameras, and we are adding cameras to our facilities for the safety and security of our staff, as well as many of the guests, as a deterrent, hopefully. more so
Deterrent,
than actually
whatever.
Catching people, but.
Right.
We do,
Not
in
a
the parks,
deterrent.
to speak to illegal dumping. At least once a week, we're calling in illegal dumping to the DPW operations team to come and remove everything from roofs to mattresses to someone moved, and all the ingredients that comes when someone moves out of an apartment complex.
The
On our park
ingredients.
properties, particularly the areas that are not highly visible. The challenge is, it's constantly a moving target. We have some hot spots, we can go put a camera there for a month, and then it stops, and then it moves. Gustafson is a park that we experience a lot of illegal, right in the parking lot. They just pull up the front of the parking lot. It's done at nighttime. So although the modern cameras do photograph at night, but a lot of times it's done at night, it's a lever, they're done, and they're gone. So I think that discussion really needs to move over to the DPW group, because they're the team. Sean Brock, he does a phenomenal job with his members. Sometimes the dumpsters aren't picked up quick because there's some staffing challenges or the equipment breakdowns that move those container boxes to the dump. But yeah, that's a good discussion for the Department of Public Works.
And the ones that are at the Kroger sites,
Yes.
are those still owned and managed by the city?
Yes, that's an agreement they have with that grocery chain that allows them to have those, usually in the back corner of the parking lot. And they've lost a few of those spots because it was just overwhelming on the cleanup. Again, they do diligence, but like I said, the one I go to, it's deplorable sometimes. And if I was running that business, I would have a long time ago asked them to remove it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, you mean all the policies that the city council were doing and they were supporting is actually like not making a difference? Huh? Who would have guessed?
Thanks very much. Director, thank you, Chairman. And Director Boyd, thank you so much for this presentation. And I know this is a slide that I missed due to my tardiness, so thank you for this. But the lifeguard trend
Dude, look
towards
at that
20
look
or
from
since 2020
Carlino.
has been very promising. I've noticed signs and marketing used to bring more youth in for employment, which is really well received and thanked by my constituents. Anecdotally, it's definitely seemed as though there's a noticeable impact on public safety in a positive way when we employ our youth and give them, good productive jobs in the community, like with these lifeguard programs.
Okay.
That belief is widely shared among my residents, and I share it as well. I'm just
Cool.
wondering, do we have any data about that? Do we have any kind of partnerships with IMPD?
Jeez,
Because,
look at
again, neighborhood
Carlino. She's
associations
so
are talking
pissed
about
off.
youth employment, preventing crime. Stands to reason. It's common sense, but I just wonder if we're tracking statistics at all. Thanks.
I don't have any particular specific data on the impact of
would she?
youth employment and the level that we're doing it so specific to our parks and how that's a great question. I mean, I believe
What he's asking is like, is there any data to support that kids having jobs in the summer is like a benefit to them? Of course it is, dipshit. You're keeping them out of trouble.
that is the case, and that is part of why.
But remember,
we
these
really
are
care
also the
about youth.
same people that are mad that 15-year-olds are working 40 hours a week during the summer. I mean, they're just morons.
Employment, so, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm a big supporter of regardless, but yeah, would love to help gather the data to make the case that this budget really earns back a lot more
at
than we
her.
put into it. So thank you.
Councilor Bain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Director Boyd. All of us on the Southwest side are very excited for the investment coming to Southwest Way Park, especially when we look at the timeline for that, how it looks like we're going to see a lot of that done this year. I just wanted to share with the committee, the audience, and those listening and watching at home of an incident that we had at Carson Park where you and your staff, Deputy Director Colvin, were there, and we were meeting with a youth organization that we seen on the other side of the park. There was someone that was actually illegally dumping. And without any hesitation, we saw Director Boyd, Deputy Director Colvin, and either other staff members run to their vehicles and go to confront this person that was illegally dumping in our parks. And it just made me really proud of who we have representing us in the Parks Department. And I think it just goes to show their
Did
dedication.
anything happen to him?
I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that.
Did you just get a stern warning?
Have one question though, and we've kind of talked on it a little bit here with how DPW interacts with the Parks Department. And what's come out of some of these meetings that I've had with local sports organizations like Decatur Little League, Carson Park Girls Softball, is there seems to be like 2 or 3 different layers of responsibility for who's in charge of upkeeping parks. I know a lot of our parks, there's nonprofits that own buildings, such as like at Carson Park, the Carson Park Girls Softball Organization runs that concession stand. They own the building. They're responsible for what's in it. And then when it comes to other things, such as like ground maintenance, it's a contractor that DPW works with through the Parks Department. And it just seems like there's 2 to 3 different layers of responsibility. Do you all see that as an issue? Because I kind of look at that and I see it as an issue. And would you support putting more of that responsibility solely within the Parks Department? Obviously, you would have to shift the funding that DPW is getting for the parks maintenance. But is that something you would support? Would you support putting more responsibility on the Parks
logistics, my
Department
man.
for that?
I think that is something we could look into. That's going to require there's a lot of moving pieces to that.
Yeah.
But the way it works now is, in general, DPW is responsible for the grounds maintenance. They have, just like any other organization really across the country right now, staffing issues. So their capacities are challenged sometimes, and they also have contractors. And so for our, in our partnerships with different leagues, we set up sort of different arrangements. And sometimes the leagues are taking on the maintenance of their particular fields of focus as an in-kind service, and then we give them a break on the fees that they would be charged. So then that takes that off of DPW's plate to have to deal with, and usually the leagues are going to be providing a greater level of care for those fields to keep them manicured in the way that they need them to be manicured, that DPW just doesn't have the capacity or their contractors to do. But I'm open to looking at different strategies for really keeping our parks beautiful and well-maintained.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions from councilors? Is there anyone here from the public who'd like to speak to proposal number 10? Oh, Councilor Delaney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had an additional comment, if that's okay. I forgot to mention this earlier in my zeal to get my questions answered, but I just want to thank Director Boyd. You've always been pleasant to work with, and prior to my role as a city councilor, and she's already helped me try to resolve some issues in my district, and we're only a little over a month in. So I just want to say thank you. I've heard nothing but wonderful things about you throughout my district, and I'm glad that we get to reappoint you this year. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Is there anyone here from the public who'd like to speak to proposal number 10? Seeing nobody, Councilor McCormick.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that we send proposal number 10, 2024, that approves.
Jeez, dude.
Phyllis
Look
Boyd
at
as
the
the
bobbleheading.
Director of Department of Parks and Recreation to the full council with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Boyd, or excuse me, Director Boyd. Come on up, you can join us.
Not yet.
Really, just a few comments to you and your staff. Going to the Cranard ribbon cutting was really nice, and you can see the excitement with staff. I think finally they're seeing dollars invested in these facilities and some care, and as oftentimes with many positions in city government, a lot of these most of these individuals are doing these jobs out of love for the city.
Dude, they're getting a pension. Shut up.
Absolutely.
And while I think as counselors, sometimes we can get angry and frustrated because we're dealing with more, we lose sight of that at times. And I just want
Good
to
job.
take the opportunity to tell you that and tell your staff that. We probably don't give you.
You can
anywhere near
you can see the
enough
head
thanks or
bobbing from
appreciation
here.
for what you do. And I know that this is just not enough even saying that. So thank you for your time. Colleagues, just a couple of things real quick before we go. I have instructed Clerk Nance to work with Parks. We are going to be moving most of these meetings outside of the city-county building. We are going to go to some of the facilities around the city with our parks and recreation centers. We may look at the Park Rangers facility. We may look at arts and other things as well.
Why?
I'm an individual who believes truly that we need to understand and see the things that we are voting on, approving, and what's not right.
Then go over there.
These are
You
some
don't have to
big
have a meeting
shoes for me
there.
to fill as chairman of this, with retiring Chairman Duke Oliver, who I think did a very nice job as chairman for this committee for many years. But we've got some tough questions and things moving forward.
Dude, look at this guy.
I'm of the idea that the way we are funding our Parks Department is not sufficient for the city of Indianapolis, and is not something that we can put up with for very much longer. I think it's a quality of life issue for all of the families and people of this city.
Dude, the
So
roads
as a
are
new
jacked
chair,
up.
I tend to take us in that direction to have some uncomfortable conversations, but realistic and being authentic about that as well. Any last questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing no further business, we are adjourned.
Do you want to know why he said that? He thinks he's doing something noble right now. I'm saying we need to go and visit the parks, and we need to go visit to the buildings and find out of like what they actually need. Is the money being spent well or whatever? Like that's part of their job is to go and visit. When you're on that committee, you're going to go and visit and check it out yourself. You have time to go do that. Now, what you're doing is that you're going to mess everybody's lives up that are on this committee. You not only have the city councilors. So, for example, Josh Bain lives on the southwest side in Decatur Township. Now, if he has to go to like the northeast side, and especially if he has somewhere to go for work, like it takes me 20 minutes to a half an hour to get home from work. And I live on the west side. And then it would take another 15 minutes to get to the city county building. Now, can you imagine if I had to go like an extra half an hour or 20 minutes out of that way? Now, Jared Evans does not have a job. He does not have a part-time job. His only part-time job is basically the city council. He lives with his parents, and his only way of getting funded by life is by the government. And him like messing with people's lives is going to be disastrous. People have families to go to. I mean, you already have the Parks Department people. You have everybody that's in that committee. It starts at 5:30. You might have to leave at, however long it takes. This was a half an hour. And then you have to drive back home. And now what you're saying is if someone lives on the west side and they have to go to the east side for a meeting and then they have to travel back to the west side, like you're just messing everybody's day up and they want to be with their family. But since Jared Evans doesn't have a family, what does he care? Just a dick move. Very funny by Jesse Brown showing up and then him being all nervous. And the reason why he was late is because he took a nap and he was supposed to wake up at 3:30. And he didn't wake up until like 5:15 or something. The meeting started at 5:30 and he said it's like, "Thank God for my wife and she drove me to the city county building." Hey bud. Hey bud. The same guy that bitches about cars needed a car to get to work. How funny is that? How ironic. Would you have taken the bus then? Would you have gotten there in time? Nope. Would you have taken your bike there and gotten there on time? Nope. Not at all. Oh, Mr. We don't need cars all of a sudden needs a car. Now, here's an interesting thought, too. There are parks on the west side, there are parks on the northwest side. How are you going to get there? Are you going to ride your bike? Are you going to take a bus? Because as far as I know, you only have one car. So what are you going to do? How are you going to get there? You're going to make your wife leave work early? Tough guy? Huh? Didn't really plan for that now, did you? Maybe that was the plan all along. If Jesse can't make it to the meetings, then he can't make it to the meetings. But of course, more taxpayer money being wasted, and sort of in my opinion, I think there's a big money laundering scheme. The amount that they spend on consulting and architectures, you just need a box, man. People are just there to walk around. You don't need anything special. But when budget season comes around, it's going to be funny to watch where all this money goes to. So, until next time.